welcome back to Qi Gong UNCUT. Today we're going to talk about the Dan Tien. You can't learn Qi Gong without knowing about the Dan Tien. The Qi Gong is our centre of balance, and it's where all our motion should come from, and it's the centre of our energy. This is where our Dan Tien is located, in our lower abdomen. If you want to find it, put 4 fingers below your little tummy button and the hand below that. That's where your Dan Tien is. A lot of exercises, Qigong exercises, you'll have your hands placed on your Dan Tien. Traditionally, the man has the left hand on his Dan Tien and the right hand over the left hand. If you're a woman, you have your right hand on your Dan Tien and your left hand over your right hand. It's our centre of gravity, and in Chinese medicine it's our centre of energy. So it's important to remember when you're doing Qi Gong is not to contract your abdomen, it's just to let it out and relax it. The first Tai Chi or Qi Gong exercise I did was on a chair, and I'll show you that one. The first exercise I'm going to show you to get in tune with your Dan Tien is the first exercise that I ever learned, and at that point I didn't even know what a Dan Tien was. Yeah, and what happened was I went to learn Tai Chi Chuan, you know, the exercise where they move like this. It's a very slow form of martial art. Anyway, so I joined a class with an old Chinese teacher, and he said to me, he showed me where my Dan Tien was. He pointed out, he said, put 4 fingers below your navel, and then your hand below that, that's your Dan Tien. Clasp your Dan Tien like that. Left hand there, right hand there. Opposite for females. Then he got me to sit down on a chair, place my hand on my Dan Tien, relax my neck and my shoulders. In fact, he kept coming round going, relaxy, relaxy, and karate chopping me on the shoulders to make sure my shoulders relax. And he said, just sit there and feel your breath go in and out from your Dan Tien on the palm of your hands. So breathe in down there so you can feel it in your hands. And I did that for an hour while all the other guys are practicing Tai Chi. And then at the end of the session he said go home, so I went home. And then I came back the next week and he said, go and sit down on that chair. So I sat down on the chair. He said, put your hands on your Dan Tien. Put my hands on the Dan Tien. He said, relax, focus on the Dan Tien. Breathe down deeply. And that's what I did for the next hour. So that was my first sort of experience of my Dan Tien, and that can be your first exercise. You know, if you don't know and you haven't worked with your Dan Tien, that's your first exercise. The only difficult thing about it is not falling asleep while you're doing it. Okay, here's some more exercises. Right, so I'm going to show you some exercises now to make you more aware of your Dan Tien and get you used to the habit of moving from your Dan Tien. These exercises are mostly sort of warm up to learning Tai Chi Chuan, and Tai Chi Chuan is all about shifting the balance. It's not all about swinging your arms around and around, but it's shifting your balance from one foot to the other. And that's how we're going to learn where our Dan Tien is. So we're going to put our hands on your Dan Tien, which, remember, you find your tummy button, put 4 fingers below that and your hand below that, then press both together. If it's a man, your left hand on your Dan Tien, your right hand covering it. If you're a woman, right hand on the Dan Tien, left hand covering it. Okay, so I'm a man, here we go. Okay, so we're standing here and we're standing with our knees slightly bent in a relaxed position and our feet about the same width apart as our shoulders. That's a typical stance for Tai Chi and Qi Gong. We've got our hands over pressed on our Dan Tien and we're breathing naturally. Now what we're going to do now is shift the weight onto our left foot and we're going to turn around. So all my weight is on my left foot. Look, if you went to kick my right foot, I'd still be standing up. Okay, so we're there and then we move the weight back to the right foot and again twist to the right. So all my weight is on my right foot. And then we move back to the left. And then we move back to the right. And basically that's all we do. And we do that 20 times to the left, 20 times to the right. Easy, soft exercise. Breathing normally in a relaxed manner. Okay, 20 times of each. This other exercise, also a Tai Chi exercise, and we basically walk in a straight line, a parallel line. So imagine a train track in front of you that's the same width apart as your shoes, as your feet or as your shoulders. So you're there like that with your hands on your Dan Tien and you step forward. Step forward. So my weight's there at the moment. You step forward, bring your weight over there, parallel line, weight over there. And we can go as far forward as we want. So have your imaginary train track in front of you and walk along it. When you get to the end, walk backwards along it. Keep your hands on your Dan Tien and you focus on your Dan Tien. Okay? The next exercise, we can keep our hands on our Dan Tien, and what we're going to do is we're going to exhale, and when we exhale we're going to push forward our Dan Tien onto our hands and we're going to push out with our bum a little bit. So we go, first of all just empty your breath, just do a little sigh, and now exhale all your breath and press forward your Dan Tien while your breath is out onto your hands and into the back, which is kind of quite the opposite of what we're used to doing if you're used to doing Western exercises. So again, we stand there in the usual, this is called a horse stance by the way, and it's the most common stance. So your legs are about as far apart as your shoulders, knees slightly bent. You've got your hands on your Dan Tien, sigh, press out to your Dan Tien and to your back. And do that 10 or 20 times. That makes you more aware of your Dan Tien.